We're looking into the future. We're looking into the future. We're looking into the future.
Who are the warriors?
Saturday afternoon is football.
Welcome to episode 44 of There's Still Time, the AFTN podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Pandher, and no, I won't be joined by our regular co-host, Michael McCall, because this will be a preview show, and as you know from last year, whenever he was involved in a preview show or previewing the game, he normally got the game wrong. So he's kind of going to take a backseat in this one. He's going to appear later on for a little segment he's going to do, but for now, it's just going to be me and a few guests that are going to be kind of rotating in and out. So let's get on with it. But before we get on to the actual preview of the Vancouver Whitecaps taking on the New York Red Bulls at BC Place at 4:30 on Saturday, we're going to talk about a few news and notes from this week in Whitecapsland. Couple of things to tidy up with. There were 3 players who went on to join Marlon Ramirez and Jackson Farmer in Charleston. They were Mamadou Diouf, Adam Mena, and Michael Kafari. So those 3 will be joining the other 2 that originally went there earlier in the preseason, and it'll be the 5 guys for now. There might be a couple of players joining those guys. So that'll be basically the contingent that will play for Charleston as part of the Whitecaps loan plan. And another player that was released this week was Ben Fisk. Let's not say released. He was basically, his invitation, as it said on the website, to training had ended, and he was going to be taking other opportunities. We found out later on he was going to go on trial with Deportiva in Spain. It's basically a second division team that is in battle to get back up to La Liga. So good luck to Ben. He's been a long-time residency guy, a local kid. Hopefully he'll be able to go there and make some hay. And he might not get signed this year, but maybe it's something to set up for him for next year and in future years. So good luck to him there. Another fan favorite who was sent packing by the Whitecaps was Matt Watson. He was traded to the Chicago Fire, Frank Yallop's Chicago Fire. They essentially picked up an international spot, and there again, it's tough to see a fan favorite like that go, but in the long run, it might be a good thing for Matt to go over there. He's going to be getting possibly some more playing time. He's with all the additions in the midfield, he was going to get lost in the shuffle here. So good thing for him to go. He'll get playing time, and he'll hopefully be able to establish himself and, keep staying in MLS, whether with Chicago or another team in the future. They picked up essentially an international spot, and that international spot was for one of the new additions that happened this week. So it wasn't all players leaving; there were players coming in. Ethan Sampson was assigned to be the backup right back. As you guys know, in the past, I have been kind of critical of him. I'm hoping he does well, hopefully for the Whitecaps, hopefully for everybody. He does well. I'm just not overly impressed. I know he tackles well, like we said before. It's just that he's got to work on his positioning so he doesn't have to do those tackles and cause more damage for the Whitecaps than help. A residency player that was signed this week, Ben Fisk obviously leaving, but one residency player was signed, and that was Marco Carducci, 17-year-old. I wrote about him on AFTN, so you could check that out. He's essentially going to be the third goalkeeper and will be playing behind Usted and Tornaghi, and there won't be very much, unless there's a rash of injuries, there probably won't be an opportunity for him to play. He'll most likely play a lot of residency games, splitting the time with Nolan Worth, and also playing for the PDL side, the U23 side. So expect him to be the starting keeper there. If there's any friendlies in the future, he probably will get a shout out there as well. And then obviously the biggest signing of the week was the Whitecaps announced that they had signed a third designated player, Pedro Morales, from La Liga. He played for Malaga there. Interesting signing there. He's obviously the number 10 that they've been looking for, and they've been, Carl Robinson talked about, he had about 3 or 4 guys that he had targeted during the offseason to be that number 10. This guy came up, and they didn't think he was going to be available, but once he became available, he was their main target. But he's the guy who's creative. He'll be doing a lot of set pieces. He can score goals from the midfield, as you can see from his YouTube videos. So another exciting signing. Don't know if he's going to be starting right away, but he's definitely going to be in the mix, and he should be starting at least by the second week for sure, once builds up some chemistry with that. So enough of me talking about these new additions. Let's talk to Carl Robinson. We had a couple of quotes from earlier in the week. He spoke about first Marco Carducci, and he spoke about Pedro Morales.
Well, last year I liked Marco. I think we've got some fantastic young players in our residency group, and he stood out really in pre-season camp. Just his calmness. He's 17 years of age, but when you talk to him, he's going on 37. He really is calm. He's very confident in his own ability, and he's humble as well. And the work ethic that he puts in day to day in training was fantastic, and I think it was just reward for him, and I think it's the next progression for him.
What will be the plan for him this season? Do you loan him out, or do you keep him here?
No, I'll keep him here.
Okay.
He's competing with David and Paolo, and obviously, I've got high hopes for Marco. I think it's important that he's involved with the group. I think a lot, you can develop and learn a lot, part of your education if you're involved day to day with the first team. So Marco will stay about with me. Obviously, we'll arrange games if need be for him. I know he still can play in the lower levels within the club, but he'll be with my group all the time. Yeah, no, he's got great quality. Obviously, it's a big thing that we need this year, especially after losing Camilo. So he'll bring something to the table for us, yeah.
Any chance of him playing Saturday, Carl?
Yeah, listen, I'll sit down with Pedro and see how he is. Obviously, only done a light session. He's been at trains, planes and automobiles over the last 3 to 4 days, so I'll assess it, but it'd be nice to have him involved at some stage, whether it's from the start or off the bench, I think, because and being out here this morning, it was, we give him the option of maybe staying inside to do some, but he wanted to come out and get a feel for the boys as well, which is great, and a good sign for us.
Carl, you were always looking for a number 10. Was he the main guy, or did you have a group that you would hope for? Can you give us any idea how it transpired?
Yeah, no, I identified 4 or 5 players, and he was in that group, but I didn't think initially I could get him. And over the course of a period of time, then it transpired that he may become available. And once I knew that he was available, he was my main target and the one I chased after. And it was a long process. We kept under wraps for as long as we could before 1 or 2 people managed to find out, but it's all good now because he's here. I said to Pedro when I sat down with him that he'll be likened to the Valeries and the Higuains and people like that, and he was more than happy to be likened to them guys. He said, no, okay, I want to be better than them, and those are the demands I'm going to put on him. I'm sure he'll put it on himself. He's just come from La Liga now, so his pedigree's great. He's got a good goal scoring record, but we'll ease him in. I won't just throw him in and with a chance of injury, I'll make sure he's right, but he'll make all the players around him better. And like I said, he's something that we've been missing at this club for a number of years now, and I think it's a good addition.
So that was Carl Robinson talking about the new additions to the club. And now I'd like to introduce our panel for this preview. First of all, we got from AFTN, Aaron Campbell.
Hello.
And from Curva Collective, Zach Meisenheimer.
It's good to be here, Steve.
Good to have you guys. So let's talk quickly about the New York Red Bulls before we, dive into the Whitecaps and what they have. Latest word has come out today that they're not going to be bringing in. It sounds like they're not going to be bringing in their main players. They're going to be resting them. Guys like Henry, who he hasn't yet to play in Vancouver over 3 years. Cahill, who was on international duty. Roy Miller on international duty. Also, Olave, their best defensive player, might not be here. They say he has a minor injury through preseason. So what do you guys think about that? Is that a good thing for Whitecaps, a bad thing because they're trying to sell this as a premium game?
Forget about the selling. All that matters is that we win this match. So obviously this is a good thing. If TT does not want to play on the fake grass, merci beaucoup, mon ami. This is good. We're happy for it. And Tim Cahill needs a rest. That's nice. Roy Miller, you might want him on there so he can encroach if we get a penalty. But no, I think this is a good thing for our club. This is a good thing for our team. Forget about our club. This is a good thing for our team. This is what they need. They need any advantage they can get, and maybe they'll miss Olave because he got sent off the last time they played them. But no, I think this is a positive thing.
This is good for the Whitecaps, but it's bad for MLS just in general. Carry on Reed's a name that can bring people into the games. So moving forward, it'd be nice to have him here. But if he doesn't want to play here, no big deal to us. We'll play New York without any players that want to rest. Doesn't matter.
Now, the thing is, the one thing you're worried about is that this is, and maybe this doesn't happen under Carl Robinson, but the way the RSL game happened last year with the B team happening there, is that going to be an issue? We'll talk about more of that when we get to the Whitecaps. But one thing is, the additions that the New York Red Bulls had this year, not very huge. They're going to be a team that's got a lot of continuity, same coach and everything. Usually they do make a lot of changes. What do you guys think about the changes they made?
They got a left-sided and a right-sided player from Toronto FC's 2013 roster. And then well, they brought in a defender as well, right?
From Spain, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think they've changed that much, and I think, I don't see. I'm not worried by the roster. I'm also not worried about what you said in terms of like last year against that RSL match, which was shockingly poor. What happened that night, but I don't see that happening. Partly because this is first kick, and the players are going to be up for it. The players are going to want to make an impression for their coach in his first match, their manager, their gaffer in his first match, but also for their supporters, for the city. I think they're going to want to go out and give their all. So I hear what you're saying, but I wouldn't worry about this if this is an A- or a B+ side or whatever from Red Bull New York. I don't think that's going to be a concern for our players in their frame of mind at all. We also have a really good, I don't know what the actual number is off the top of my hand. We have a really good, like, no matter what league we're in, first kick, opening match, season opener, home opener, whatever record. It was like, I think in my time in the last over a decade in Vancouver, I don't think I've ever seen, I think the worst I've seen is a draw on opening day. So there's a bit of a tradition of us doing well, and I guess I'm hoping that we'll carry on with that.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's 12 years in a row we haven't lost in first kick. And with the way the players have been training this year, Robson has them, on their A game. They probably don't care who's in the lineup, right? They're going to play hard. There's a lot of people pushing for their positions right behind him. So if anybody struggles, like Russell, if he struggles, might be the first sub out of the game, right? Strikers, same thing, Miller struggles, Maddox is right behind him. Jay struggles, Andy struggles. There's players waiting, wanting minutes. Today, they might not even be in the starting 18. Some of these players, next game they could be starting or even in the top 18. So it doesn't matter who we're playing. The players are ready to play. They're fighting for minutes this year, and we didn't really have that last year. A lot of the players last year knew they were playing no matter how well they played, how poor they played, because there was nobody pushing them from behind. So at least this year, with the added players, they're pushing for minutes. I don't see anybody slacking off this year.
No, Carl Robinson talked about New York. He obviously knows New York quite a bit. He was an assistant there. He played for them there. That's probably going to be an advantage for him. He's already talking about how New York likes to get people down the wings. They don't really, unless, and the thing is, Tim Cahill, if he doesn't play, it doesn't really make a difference. But normally Tim Cahill will drop into the deep midfield. But otherwise, their main players are going to be Dax McCarty and Eric Alexander, if the rumors are true and those guys rest. These guys, most of their attack is going to come from the wing and throwing balls into the box. They've been practicing a lot about, dealing with that kind of stuff. Last year it was kind of if in the air, clearing the ball out of the box. What do you guys think about that? They have a good advantage with those guys missing, that they can probably take advantage and keep New York off the score sheet?
Yeah, if New York does play more of a wide, cross the ball into the box kind of game, I think that Tim Cahill not playing would be, again, another great thing for us, because Tim Cahill is a quality player in the air. And in terms of how we defend that, I think with Jay and Andy, I think we have solid and steady guys at the back in the air. I mean, Mitch is not playing and Mitch is dominant in the air, but I think Jay and Andy will be fine with dealing with wide balls being crossed in.
And I think the advantage of having guys with speed down the wide, like Tybert, if he does play out wide, Fernandez, he works hard. And you got Jordan Harvey and Berisher behind him. Those guys are going to keep New York from his throwing, hitting those balls into the box and keeping that, keep them wide and don't let them get into the middle.
It will be interesting to see kind of like how New York actually, who is actually attacking wide forward. Like, is Bobby Comby going to be attacking from the left side?
You got Johnny Steele.
Johnny Steele is the most exciting thing for me about the New York side, because he is, of course, a former Whitecap. He was here in the infamous 2010 audition season that we held here. It was like the campaign did not matter. It was just an audition for MLS, which was very, very frustrating as a supporter, especially because 2011 then felt like an audition for actually,
a second audition.
Second audition. But Johnny's a great guy. His time here was a little bit marred, and I think there was certain things in life going on that made that not such an ideal time in his life. But he seems like in a really good place in life, enjoying life, enjoying his football, and it'll be good to see him again in Vancouver hanging out.
So those are our thoughts about New York. Let's listen to Carl Robinson and what he thinks New York is going to bring to the table.
Because New York are a very good team, obviously I know, and they're very good on set pieces. They've got some big guys in their team, experienced guys. So I know the way Mike works, and he'll be focusing a lot on that. So we need to make sure we address that.
Any text to Thierry tell him to come play on there?
Nah, I'm sure. Said I'd like to obviously beat New York with a Thierry in the team, so I hope he does. I'm sure he will. He's a great player. Obviously, I'm sure the fans want to watch him play. But no text as of yet, which doesn't tell me much.
And Tim Cahill wasn't there when you were there, was he? So that's
no.
Another weapon, hey?
Yeah, no. Obviously, Tim's away with Australia at the moment as well. I'm sure he'll be back, and they got world-class players, but those two in particular. But they've also got some very, very good players in this squad as well. A big key to him is Dax McCarthy. Everything goes through Dax in midfield, and Dax was there when I was there, so I know how important he is and how valuable he is. So we'll have to make sure we focus on ourselves, but obviously we give the guys the information needed to stop them as well.
So that was Carl Robinson talking about the Red Bulls. Obviously, a lot of experience with the Red Bulls. It was his second team when he came over from Europe. The Whitecaps themselves, a lot of changes obviously over the offseason. They've gone they used to be very strong at the striker position. Obviously Camilo's gone, but they seem to really solidify their midfield now, and that could be a bonus in creating goals. What do you guys think of that, like the changes they made in the offseason before we get to the actual game?
I agree with you. They have a strong core, or seemingly a strong core at midfield. I still think there is a bit of lacking, especially in depth, of like actual true wide winger players. Like I think we've definitely solved central issues. Like we have depth at central defensive midfield. We now have options at central attacking midfield that at least we're excited about. I think, or most people are excited about, as opposed to someone playing there out of position, or someone who's maybe not producing there enough, being put out on the wing or whatever. So I think those are good. I think the wide options, I just don't think we really have many wide options aside from Nico. I think can play a little bit wide.
Well, he's more of a central attacker. I think it's more Sebastian.
Sebastian. I apologize for confusing the two. So so we have a Uruguayan who can play wide, and we have Russell, who's played a lot of wide, but we don't have a lot of true wide players, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But and it appears Robert will go 4-2-3-1. It's nice to have someone who's a little bit better wide. It's not the end of the world. I think we're lacking a little bit of depth at that.
And it's been a case like that for ages now. They've always thrown strikers in there. I think Kakuta can play a little bit of wide, and he'll probably be one of the guys first on. And that should be something. Aaron, what do you think about the changes and going from a strength of striker to the strength of midfield?
I think this year is a big year for a player like Hurtado. He isn't a true striker, like middle of the field striker. This can be a big year for him if he can get out wide, play crosses, get in, attack defenders. He can be a good option playing wide for the Whitecaps. May not start with all the new additions, but, first sub off the bench, quality 40, 30 minutes per game.
Yeah, somebody with energy coming off the bench.
I forgot Hurtado. Yeah, Hurtado is a wide player. Yeah. Natural wide player.
And from
but can't play up front too.
And from what I saw in preseason, his touch is getting better. He was attacking defenders. This is a good year for him. It might be a make or break year, kind of like Fisk. is a make or break preseason for him. Well, this might be Hurtado's make or break year. He might not be back next year if he can't step his game up. There's people behind him wanting minutes.
The one concern about Hurtado is he's going to just try too hard. And I think that could, because he might be just, if he doesn't play a team game and he's just attacking and losing the ball at the last second, it might not be that great for him. Yeah. One of the guys, obviously, that's going to be main guy dealing with creating and everything is Pedro Morales. We obviously haven't seen him play in a preseason game yet. He just arrived this week. He should be, and him and Matias Laba, the Uruguayans, it's going to bring a little bit more flair into that midfield, and I think that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people are looking forward to. There's going to be some creativity from new players that we've seen only a little bit of in terms of playing against MLS competition, and now this new hopeful DP that Rabo has brought in. And so, I think you were saying earlier that there's a chance that Pedro might actually even make an appearance on Saturday, so that'll be interesting. If that does happen, I hope it's done under like the right circumstances and not, we just need to get him on for marketing purposes.
Well, he's definitely in form. He's played he's the league. La Liga is right now in playing, so I don't think he'll be out of shape. It's not like a Rio Coker situation where Rio Coker came in and he obviously, by the end of the game, you could tell he was huffing and puffing and everything. He still put out a strong effort. Another guy is Matias Laba. Again, another guy who's only played I think he played 30 minutes against Portland in that first preseason. He has had a week now to, get some chemistry with the guys in camp. Aaron, what do you think about Laba and what he can bring to that midfield?
I think the pairing of Laba and Nigel together is going to be great for us this year. They're both physical. They can both command the middle of the field. Moving the ball forward, Rio Coker last year had some troubles moving the ball forward. He had trouble finishing. I haven't seen much of Laba, finishing, attacking the field, but from what I've seen, YouTube clips here, he likes to push the ball forward. Most of his passes are in the front, moving forward, not like Davidson pushing the ball backwards, always giving it to the central back. So I think if him and Rio Coker can bond, they can be dominant this year, and nothing we've had in MLS.
Now, Aaron, who do you think is going to provide the goals? Obviously, Kenny Miller is probably going to start initially because Maddox is coming off international duty, where he scored 3 goals in 2 games for Jamaica against, subpar, maybe some people might say subpar opponents, but still scored. So Miller, Maddox, do you think those 2 guys are the main guys scoring, or do you think goals are going to come from all over?
I think this year goals are going to have to come from all over. I don't see any Caps player getting over maybe 10 to 12 goals this year. It's going to probably have to be by committee. If you can get 4 or 5 players...
don't use the word committee around.
If you can get 4 or 5 players, in the 6 to 12 goal range, right? Make up for what Camilo scored last year. I think that's how we're going to do it. I don't see Maddox getting 20. No. Right? I don't think
he's predicting it either.
I don't see Miller getting 15, right?
It's funny because that is their talking point, because on the opening day of training, one of the members of the committee said to me, we're going to have scoring by committee this year.
So Zach, your thoughts on the strikers? Obviously, another guy we didn't mention other than Maddox and Miller is Kakuta. We mentioned him in the midfield, but he can also play central role. If they go to like a 4-4-2 diamond like Robinson's talking about as well, that he could play a pretty big role there too.
Yeah, Kakuta, you just hope that he continues to progress in terms of his experience of playing against MLS caliber men. So I think we want to see him play centrally a bunch because of how he did so well in that kind of role last year near the end of the season. I think so how they manage him is one of the key things. How they're gonna handle him. Same with Eric. I know last year Eric had a great preseason, and a lot of people were like, wow, this is going to be amazing. Him and Kakuta, they're going to play so much, and they're going to start opening day and all this kind of stuff. And it was a difficult year for him and difficult to adapt. And I think it was a case of people seeing how morale actually plays a role in a player's life and in their performance, because I don't think Eric is the caliber of player that he kind of showed last year, where he wasn't doing enough to get into enough games, and in the games he got into, he wasn't taking the opportunities that came his way. But I think in this preseason, I think he stepped that up a bit, and I think he's worked hard, and he's better readied himself both physically but also mentally as well. And I think looking forward to seeing what he'll contribute. Most likely not as a starter, but as he comes off the bench, maybe in those wide positions, or again, possibly up front. I think in the preseason, correct me if I'm wrong, I think like Eric scored the best goal of the entire preseason.
Oh yeah, the volley, the half volley from against Seattle too.
Against Seattle,
yes.
So from a nice over the top ball from Matt Watson, R.I.P.
R.I.P. I think he's still okay.
Well, no, he's alive. Yeah, he's alive. We miss you, Matty. But no, I think there's a great opportunity for Eric to be one of those people who contributes to this what we'll call a committee of goal scorers.
Now, the obvious big thing that if they do make the playoffs this year will be the defending. Obviously, we're hoping for that, but if they make the playoffs, it'll be defending, and it has to improve over last year where it was sometimes a fire drill, defending the box, and just overall. Obviously, Laba's going to be important in that. He's a good ball winner, but when they get past the midfield, guys in the box, the winger, the fullbacks, they're going to be helping in the attack too. What do you guys think about there? They're really deep in the central defense. They might have questions behind the fullbacks, especially on the right back side, in my opinion, based on PDL and everything. So what do you guys think about that, the defending overall? Where do you think that is going to go for them?
Well, if we put predominantly 4-2-3-1, you have the double shield.
Yeah.
A term I know you love, Steve. So you have the double shield, and I think whether that's...
I prefer the double shield, especially with two kids now.
So whether that's Nigel playing in there, Matthias, Gersh, who I hope finds his form and finds his role in the team this year, or even Russell, or poor Bryce.
Bryce, yeah.
Bryce had some great highs in preseason. A few maybe off moments, but I think more highs than lows in the preseason. So whether it's any of the five of those in there, I think they're going to need to provide cover for an aging central defending partnership, or for fullbacks who are bombing forward to support the attack. So, but I think we have people who can do that, and I think it'll be interesting to see. In all of this, it'll be interesting to see how things gel. So you have Matthias Lava, he's played like one game or whatever, and how this all gels together will be interesting, because this is in some ways how MLS works. Almost every year you have almost 10 players or more who rotate in and out of your squad, and so I think we're still going to see some of that gelling that needs to take place, which I think we've kind of seen over these last couple of years, and maybe not as much last year, but the 2 years before that, for sure.
Now, obviously, the central defense, he was mentioned that they're aging pair. So odds are, and Jay Demerit was sidelined for a couple of days of training. I don't know what he did today on Thursday and what's going to happen on Friday, but that's where the importance of that depth comes in. And obviously, the first guy, most likely based on experience and everything, Christian Dean has had a good preseason, but Johnny Leveron, I think it will play an important part in being the first guy off the bench and partnering with Andy O'Brien or Jay Demerit, whichever one has there.
Yeah, Leveron, last year stepped in great. Jay going down in the 6th minute of the first game, was huge for the club, but he really stepped up. He was a surprise, mostly in training last year where they kept them in Charleston. He couldn't travel with the club back to Vancouver. He missed out on a lot of those early preseason practices where he could bond with his teammates, but he was called in. He stepped up. Russin last year stepped up when he wasn't injured, but this year with our depth, Leveron, Dean, Carlisle, the health of Andy and Jay though are going to be huge for the club, and I don't see the both of them playing more than 27 games this year. Something's going to happen. Yeah. Something always happens. And Carlisle, Leveron, and Dean have to be ready to go. They have to be ready to play.
Yeah, I think Rob was already on the record of saying he is going to manage the games and minutes that both Jay and Andy play, which I think is great. And I think we have the depth, we have the quality and depth to do that. And so it'll be interesting to see how that's handled from the physicality of it, but again, around the morale. Like, how do you get some of these guys enough games to keep them kind of motivated and keep them kind of in it, because if we fail in that, then you'll see that in the performances on the pitch.
Now, one last position obviously we're going to talk about is goalkeeping. It didn't look good against Portland in that last preseason game. Usted really had a mare of a save. They just put it back. Basically, you can almost count it as an own goal, I think. Very close to being an own goal. What do you guys think about that? Is he number one? Is Tornagi going to challenge him, or is this going to be another issue the next like last year?
Well, away to Portland is a game that's been a problem for our keepers in the past, and so that's maybe not a huge surprise. And it was preseason. I don't think that Paulo really will push David in the way that some people are talking about. I think there's a reality to this. Like when you're in a salary cap league and you pay people a certain amount of money and you're expecting certain results from them, I think that whether you like that reality or not, I think that David is going to play, and I think it would take, let's say, multiple gaffes of that caliber or greater for there to be a drastic change and for Paulo to become the number one. I mean, deep down in our hearts, we all know we all love Marco Carducci the most, anyways, of our keepers. As much as David and Paulo are nice, but yeah,
it's a little bit too early for him yet.
It's a little bit early, yeah. but just looking forward to that day, whether it's a V's Cup situation or next year's V's Cup or whatever, like it's
or an emergency, two injuries, two guys go down really quick.
Yeah, our goalkeepers have been good over the years. I mean, they've been good to fill in when needed. We saw Joe Cannon come on as a reserve striker in the reserve league last year as a emergency striker, and yeah, it would be good. I can't wait to see Marco when Marco finally gets that game. Like that'll be massive.
Okay, so that's the preview for the Whitecaps for the season. Getting back to the New York game, what do you guys think are some of the key matchups? Again, we don't know who's starting, so it's going to be hard to figure out who the key matchups. So, Zach, why don't you start off with that?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Kenny Miller starts and if he's fit and if he is playing that solo striker in the 4-2-3-1. I think last year away to New York, you saw Kenny's football intelligence. You saw the run he made for that winning goal, which was, just like a quality run, a quality header in the box from some good service. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if Kenny plays and how he does. Again, depending on who will be in defense for New York, like if they are actually going to rest Jameson Olave or what's going to happen, because I'm pretty sure when Kenny scored that goal, Jameson was no longer on the pitch away last year at Red Bull Arena. But I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to most is seeing if Kenny starts and kind of how he takes on that back line by himself with the support of the three behind him.
Yeah, my big thing to watch for tomorrow is the midfield. Rio Coker, Laba, moving the ball forward, right? We don't want to see them moving back. Robbo wants to push this year. Lots of passes, lots of 1-2 touches, getting the ball forward. So, Rio Coker, Laba, I think they're going to be the starters. I want to see them attack, Kofi comes in for substitute. I want to see him attack, move the ball forward. Right, that's going to be the staple of the team this year. They want to be exciting. They want to score goals. They want to impress the fans at home. They want to, get excited about what's going to happen this year. So I really want to see how Lab and Rio Coker control the midfield, help out central backs when needed. But I really want to see them push this year. Push to the outside, get the ball forward. You don't need to make passes back and forth if you're not going to move forward with those passes. So that's my big thing this year. I want to see.
And I agree with you 100%. I think the midfield is going to be the big deal. You got Alexander, McCart. If everybody gets rested the way everybody's saying they're going to be rested, we don't know if Cahill's going to play. If they can, because their midfield is a hard-working midfield. If we can outwork them in BC Place, we should have a good chance of controlling that midfield and be able to control the game overall. So those are our thoughts on the game. I know Michael McCall is not here, but we wanted to let him give you an idea of what he thought about the game. So here's Michael with his thoughts on New York in a segment called Trio Time.
Trio. Too loud. Trio. I said that was too loud. I want a trio and I want one now. Yeah, well, we all do, man, but listen. Not one, not two, but three things in it. Listen, could you just cool it? Not one, not two, but
no three things are quite as good together as a trio.
Hello everyone. It's our inaugural trio time, because no three things are quite as good together as a trio. Now I like my threesomes, so what we're going to do on every preview podcast is have a look at my 3 keys to the game. So for the game that's coming up against New York, the 3 keys that I see are really important for the Whitecaps are as follows. Key number 1. Now, it looks like New York are going to be bringing a bit of an under-strength side with them. Looks like it's going to be no Thierry Henry, no Tim Cahill, possibly no Olave or Miller either. So that's got to be good news for the Whitecaps. Now, a lot of people out there like wanting to see Thierry Henry turn up, play a BC Place. Really don't see why you would want to see that. You want the opposition to be as weak as possible, give the Whitecaps the best chance for a win. And for me, this is a great chance for them to get off to another winning start. They've won every single first kick game since they've joined MLS. Now, if I was going to do one of the Caps nominations videos, I was going to do something about New York Red Bulls, the guys from the Big Apple, having their core ripped out. And that's exactly what's happened. Their main guys aren't travelling, so the Whitecaps have to take advantage of that. That's key number one. Take advantage of a weaker New York side, get the 3 points in the bag, get the season off to a great start, and build on that momentum. Key number two comes in the midfield. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of additions, that it looks like there's going to be a lot of a kind of Latino flair to the team. We need to see this click, and we need to see this immediately. We mentioned before the importance of these guys coming in and taking a little bit of pressure off Kenny Miller up front. We have to see these guys being creative. So we need to see the midfield being creative. That's my second key to the game. And my third key to the game comes in the back line. Jaden Merritt seems to be struggling a little bit with injuries this week. He's kind of been training a little bit off to the side. I don't think he's fully fit. I don't think he is good to go. So my final key is, if he isn't good to go, who is going to come in? Partner Andy O'Brien, and how well are they going to do? Will it be Christian Dean? Will it be Johnny Leveron? Will it be Carlisle Mitchell? Might be too early to give Dean his first start, but hey, who knows? So let's see how that backline does. They have to stay strong. Even though it's a weak New York team, they still have a lot of guys out there that are going to be able to put some damage onto Whitecaps. So how do I see it going? Well, I think New York are going to be happy to kind of come out here and get a draw. I do think, though, that the Whitecaps are going to take advantage of them being weaker. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Whitecaps win on Saturday, get the season off to a good start. But let's see what our old friend Predictapooch is thinking about the game. Predictapooch, come here, boy. Come here. So what we're going to do is another trio. I'm holding 3 balls in my hand. No innuendo intended there. And what I'm going to do is throw the balls down for Predictapooch to chase. We have an orange ball. If he brings that ball back, that's going to be a Whitecaps win. We have a pink and blue ball. If he brings that one back, that's going to be a draw. And we have a yellow ball. If he brings that one back, New York are going to win. So let's see what Predictapooch is going to say for the game. So you ready? On your marks, get set, chase those balls. So he's running down the hallway. He's seen what he can do, and he's brought back the orange ball. Predictapooch is going for a Whitecaps win. So let's see if both him and myself are correct in this week's Trio Time.
Trio! Too loud. Trio! I said that was too loud. I want a trio and I want one now. Yeah, well, we all do, man, but listen. Not one, not two, but 3 things in it. Listen, could you just cool it? Not one, not two, but 3.
No 3 things are quite as good together as a trio.
So those were Michael's thoughts on the game. So this is the part of the program where we're going to try to predict a lineup and decide on who's going to start, and obviously the predictions for the game itself. Now, we've kind of come to a consensus off air about, before we start recording here, of who the lineup's going to be. So I'll let Aaron announce who the backline and the goalkeeper, who we think it is.
Well, we know it's going to be Ousted. You know, they're not going to
even after that goal.
Yeah, they're not going to give anybody else to start opening first kick. Bidisher, Andy, Jay Demerit, Harvey, right? Those are our guys moving forward.
Now, the one thing is, like I said, I don't know what happened in training today. I don't know obviously we don't know what's going to happen on Friday. We're recording on Thursday. If Jay Demerit is hurt, I think Johnny then comes on for him. I think he's out of the guys. I don't think they put Christian Dean on first kick, no matter how well he's done in preseason. Zach, the midfield, who do you think is there?
Yeah, the midfield in our 4-2-3-1, the double shield will be comprised of Matthias and Nigel, and then the 3 across the midfield will be Russell, Nico, and Seba. And Russell and Seba might end up switching
Obviously, yeah.
wings during the game. But yeah.
Now, one thing about that as well is if this was mentioned by Robinson that he might go to a 4-4-2. And if he does go to a 4-4-2, he will easily slip up, most likely Russell down to the diamond, one of the side points, and Rio Coker would move up. And then obviously Seba would move in and play alongside Kenny Miller. So that you expect that probably and obviously striker with Maddox just coming back. I think Kenny Miller, fully fit, will probably be the lone striker. I think he'll probably drop and Nico will move up and they'll switch back and forth a little bit too there.
Derek's coming off that first ever goal for Jamaica.
He had 3 in 2 games.
3 in 2 games, right? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, he's scoring for Jamaica. He's coming in on form. It's gonna be good off the bench
for sure. So the game itself, what do you guys think? First kick. Aaron's mentioned before 12 straight games undefeated in first kick. What do you think it's going to be the result this time?
I'm going with 2-1 Whitecaps. I don't see us getting a clean sheet. 2-1 goals by Kenny Miller and Russell Tucker.
Zach,
I'm going to say 3-1 just because I want us to do well. And I think if Mike Petka is not playing mind games and he does actually rest some players, not use some players, I could see us winning 3-1. I agree there in that I think New York will, whoever's playing for them, they will cause us some problems at the back. And for them, I'm calling Johnny Steele to score just because I like him.
I think it's going to be I'm going to give 2 predictions because I'm the host. I can do that. I'm going to say if they do decide to rest everybody they're talking about resting, I think it's a 2-0 scoreline. I don't think they'll have much of a chance. I think if Cahill and Olave are on there at least, I don't think Henry's going to be there at all. I think he's basically at home right now in New York, or maybe even flying off to Arsenal to watch an Arsenal game or something on this weekend. I think it could be even that much dramatic. I think those 2 guys make that much of a difference. It could be a 2-2 draw. So those are our thoughts. So that's basically our first preview show for this season. We'll talk about where we can reach you online. Zach?
You can reach me online at Zachary AM, or the movements at Curva Collective, or you can find me in the front of section 203, 204, giving my all in support of our players.
And Aaron Campbell.
You can follow me on Twitter at AACamp81, AACAMP81. Also follow us AFTN Canada on Facebook, our Facebook group. We're updating up to the minute with all our articles and the podcast.
Perfect. And you can find me at Whitecaps Beat on Twitter. And obviously Canadian Soccer News, and you can find us all there. So that's our first preview show for this year. I'd like to thank Aaron and Zach once again for joining us. And just to let you know, keep an eye out. We're going to be doing a Whitecaps preview on AFTN, as well as a Western Conference prediction article that's going to come up on the Friday and the Saturday before the match. And also, we will have like last year, our post-game podcast right after the game. You'll probably be able to download it on a Sunday. So look out for that as well. To everybody out there in Whitecapsland, thanks for listening. We'll see you at the pitch, and have a good game.
When you're listening in some far-flung corner of the globe to the World Service of a Saturday afternoon, crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Somehow comforting, isn't it? Legendary names, fathers and sons on the terraces, cheesy peas at half-time, pint for dad, mum's at home making the tea. Everything's all right with the world, isn't it? Saturday afternoon is football.
Yeah,